hopefully you can tell straight away that this is going to be probably more of an interactive conversation. And my style is really informal because I really want to make sure that you guys get the most from this particular session today. Because, you know, every speaker is always grateful when someone turns up. And as there's a few of you that's turned up, I'm even more grateful. So thank you very much indeed. Now, I've been here all day as well, and I've been to a couple of the different lectures, and I've been almost bouncing off the wall with excitement on some of the things that I've been learning today. So, and also the people I've bumped into as well. Now, can you believe it, right? So, I was working with Universities UK recently. I don't know if Vivian made it in today, but there I was coming up the escalator, and as I'm just about to come off, so Vivian, who I haven't seen for absolutely ages, suddenly appears and goes, "Hello, Heather, how are you?" Now, you know, when you look at serendipity and networking, it's absolutely pretty awesome, actually, when you get a chance to say hello to someone you haven't seen for such a long time. And the other thing as well that I've also gathered already from today is I've met a couple of people who I really want to connect with. So I don't know if you went to the LinkedIn session with Charles Hardy and Neil Mason and the other lovely chap. I can't remember his name now, I'm going to panic. But I sort of met up with them, hooked up with them, and actually going to do some catching up with them as well, because it was really interesting what they were talking about, how they're going to be developing the LinkedIn platforms. And then I went on to the employability one, where I met up with IBM and a few of the others over there, and that was some very interesting conversations too. So what I want to do is actually crash some of that stuff together in with my session today. And what we're going to look at today is one aspect around networking. Now, just a quick hands up. Who teaches or gets engaged with the students on networking at the moment in your universities? Okay, just a few of you. Okay, then fine. So today's session, I've actually aligned this one today for yourselves rather than necessarily for your students. However, you can use this stuff with your students as well, so it's entirely up to you how you want to interpret it. But I wanted to sort of start off today, though, focus on one particular dynamic of networking, which is how do you answer that question, so what do you do? And when you look at networking from your own perspective, it is so important to get a sense of, so when someone turns around and says, "Hello, who are you, what do you do?" And, you know, the hand comes out, and you've got that 30 seconds in which to say something. And if you look at what you've been doing over the last couple of days, you've been meeting lots of different people. And of course, that question's come up over and over and over again. So what I want to do today is to address that question and look more around your personal message, your brand, if you like, and to give you an exercise within 30 minutes that you can take away and use forever. So it's going to be a very practical session. So I hope you're all ready to play. Yeah, come on, guys, talk to me. Yeah, that's what we like. Yes, yes. Okay, now a tiny bit of background about myself so you know who I am and what I do. So I teach networking and I teach personal brand, and I'm a matchmaker. So I either go out teaching it or I'm doing it, which means I have a huge amount of teas and coffees, hence the waistline getting bigger and bigger. Now, the types of businesses I work with actually are also the universities, but I also work on the corporate side as well. So I understand how the whole business and the whole system works. So it's not just a theory, but it's the practical element of what you actually do. So we're going to start off with an exercise. So are you ready to do something? Yes. Jolly good, just making sure you're still with me. Right, now then, what I want you to do is this. I would like you to pair up with somebody. So if you're sitting on your own, can you very quickly sidle across and go and say hello to someone very quickly? So I need you to pair up. Ever so quick. Pair up with somebody. Now, this is what I'm going to do. In order to make the point around when it comes to networking, one of the things that's so important is partly what you say, how you introduce yourself. Okay, and as you've already can see, Laura's already introduced me. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to introduce Laura to you. And in your pairs, what I want you to do is to listen to how I introduce her. And then I'm going to ask you, in your pairs, to write down as many keywords that you can remember on how I introduced her. Now, have you all met Laura before, apart from that very quick bit? You all know who Laura is, don't you? Yes. Yep? Okay, fine. So, Laura, can I get you to come back on stage? Round of applause for Laura, please. Yay! So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce Laura to you. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to focus on her key words. So I need you to listen really carefully, and then I'm going to give you literally 1 minute to write down as many keywords as possible that you remember from what I said, but also anything else that you want to add, as you've already got some sort of understanding about Laura and what she does or how you see her. So, okay, are you ready? Yes. Yeah, I've got to be kind, see. We agreed I'd be kind. So, ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce you to Laura Howard. Laura is the president of the European Association for International Education. She's an expert within internationalization of higher education, specializing in 2 areas: culture and languages, working and living in a global society. You now have 1 minute to write down as many keywords as you can remember, and anything else you want to add. So can you just start shouting out, how many words have you written down about lovely Laura? 6, 5, 10, 8, 12. Oh, that's a lot. That's nice. 12's good. Okay. Anything else on that? Yeah, as long as they're good words. So can I, actually, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Is can I sort of say to this group down here, can you just shout out some of the key words that you've got written down? So that, and I'm going to do it in 2 parts. I want one part which is actually anything you wrote down about her personality, and then the other part which is actually around about her expertise and experience that I also mentioned. So can I start with that group over there, in this sort of area over here? So can you give me some of the nice soft stuff that you said about Laura? Expert. President. Internationalization, good word, that. Languages. Cultures. Very good. Any soft stuff? Global. World. Okay, living in. All right, let's come over to this group over here. Did you write down any of her personality or characteristic traits at all? You just literally looked at what I sort of said. Fantastic. Laura, thank you very much. They were all very nice too. And what good memories they got too, isn't it? Fantastic.
Great crowd.
Absolutely. So, the point of this is that when you look at how I introduced Laura and also how Laura introduced me, my main point is this, is that you only have the ability to remember so much. Your recall will quickly fade. Because if I looked at and sort of said to you in 5 minutes' time, what were the key words? That list is actually going to diminish a little bit further. And if I then come back to an hour or say even tomorrow, that list is going to diminish even further still. So what we're looking at when you are networking, from a networking perspective, is it's all about recall. Because how do I remember you? And what I want to take you through today is how do you help others to remember you? Now, you can do this from the perspective of, I don't know, your careers, or it could be anything you want. You put your focus on anything you want. But it's all about how easy is it for someone to recall who you are and what you said. So, personal brand, i.e. networking. For me, the fundamentals of this is that when you are networking, and of course, you know, for some of you, you might go, what a horrible word. And I agree, it's not a particularly pleasant world, but it does what we want it to do. It takes you to the place where we're thinking, right, okay, so who am I going to meet? What am I going to say when I meet them? What's the impression I'm actually going to create? So networking is about the ability to meet somebody, but when you meet them, to articulate the right things. This is exactly what you want your students to do, but it's also what you want to do for your own career. Now, what I've done is I've broken it down a little bit for you, but most importantly, the bit that I want you to remember is what will people say about you when you're not in the room? Okay, that, you know, I think is one of the best quotes I've ever come across. It's an old quote, but it still works incredibly well. So when I leave here today, you will have an opinion about not only this presentation, but do I live up to the skill sets that I said that I've got? Okay, and likewise, if I meet you guys later on, and please do come up and say hello to me, when I say to you, so what do you do? And you give me some, you know, blur, then I'm looking at, so what am I going to remember about you after I've met you as well? And that's what we're trying to achieve, is something where it's easy for someone to remember you, and how do you stand out when you actually meet people? So when you start to break this down into effective networking, there are 2 parts. So you've got one part which is, you know, what does personal brand belong to? What does networking belong to? So it comes down to that first impressions, you know, that normal sort of stuff, that lasting impressions, you know, the image, and I'm not overly into the image sort of part of it, but, you know, if this is going to be part of making a difference, then I'll play into that. But my real interest is actually the practical side. Okay, so what should it do for you? That's the bit that I'm really interested in. So if you think about it, I want you to think just for a minute. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to think about, at the moment, your own personal brand, what is coming to you? So when you start looking at, is my networking effective? Is my brand effective? Then you've got to be looking at what is coming to you. How are people using you to an extent on how you want to be used? Now, I know used isn't a particularly nice word either, but I'm always looking for, if people are sending me the right invitations or I get invited onto the right projects, anything like that at all. So is my brand working? So it brings stuff to me. And I want you to think for a moment, and actually I'll do a sort of show of hands. Do you think that you're getting the right stuff? Is the right stuff coming to you? So who would sort of say, yep, the right stuff is coming to me and I'm really happy? Can I see a show of hands? That's not a lot out of a big room. So for those of you where the stuff is coming to you, you're our champions. So can you put your hands up again, really high for me? Okay, guys who haven't got your hands up, see the ones who've got their hands up, go and talk to them afterwards and say, what are you doing? Because that's what brand and networking should be doing. It brings you the right stuff. Now, part of that is making sure that however you want to be seen is that how people see you, they can quickly bring you to mind. So if you remember, when Laura introduced me, I asked her to say just some key words because I know those key words make a difference. They open up the right box in someone's head. And on that basis, that's where I need you guys to go. So we're going to work through an exercise shortly in order to help you to experiment with, are you saying the right stuff? And how do you get to it? Now, let me just take you through a few things before we do that. What I've done is I've made a study of people what I call connectors. Has any of you ever read a book called The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell? Yeah, a few of you have. It's a book I'd highly recommend. There's a chapter 2 is called Law of the Few. And in there he talks about 3 types of characteristics. One is called a connector, which I'll come back to. The other one is called a maven, which is a Yiddish word for expert. And the third one he calls a salesperson, meaning an influencer. So when I studied that book, when I read that book, it transformed the way when I saw myself, but also the way that I now network. And one of the things that I picked up on are these awesome connectors. You know, who are these people? So I went out and I was like going, okay, this book talks about connectors. Who's a connector? So I went out and I started listening to people. And I started hearing those who were sort of saying things such as, do you know, you need to meet, or I know, and I can make an introduction. Or, do you know, I was talking to the other day. That sort of language. So I then started seeing them as these connectors. And I made a study. And I've probably met thousands of connectors. And one thing is for sure that they all mostly do, when they're making introductions, when they're making connections, they will use a maximum of 3 to 6 good keywords to place you into the conversation. Now, some of you guys are making connections as well. And as I'm sort of talking about this, reflect on it for a second going, how many of you, when you make a connection, only use a maximum of half a dozen words? Most of us do this. Now, when I discovered that, I was like going, crikey, what these connectors are doing is they're reducing our careers down into this little space here. So the conversation goes like this. I've got a problem I'm looking for. And someone says, oh, I know just the right person. What they've done in that moment is they've filtered out people as much as they've filtered in people. And what they're looking for when they filter you in is the fit. And then also, when they then come to describe you, they will describe you in a maximum of 3 to 6 keywords. The words that they always use will be to do with, to start off with, will be to do with expertise and or specialism and or experiences, based on what the problem is. So the bit that I want to take you through is how do you get to your best keywords? Just like if you want to help your students get to their best keywords, how do we help them do that? So you can make this exercise work for them as well. The thing is that the reason why we only use this is because we're such busy people and most people can't retain more than just half a dozen words in the first place. That's why when I introduced Laura, I kept it really tight. Like when Laura introduced me, she kept it really tight as well. Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah? Okay, fine. I think the other thing as well is that when you are introducing yourself, and some of the obvious things is, You know, sometimes you feel as though you're not being heard. You know that sort of feeling you've just said something and someone else then says something afterwards and you go, no, they just not heard me. So part of this is around making sure that your keywords are words that will help you to be heard. So one of the things that we're looking to do is how do you translate your brand, your message, in the language that makes sense to the people that you need to influence. So one of the things that we all do is we need to research who's our audience, who needs to hear our stuff in order to be heard in the way that we want to. So for example, if I use the word connector, not everyone relates to that. But if I use the word matchmaker, most people go, yeah, I get that. They can see it straight away. So on that basis, even though I prefer connector, but I use matchmaker instead. The other thing as well is making sure it's easy to recall. So I use the word networking because that's the word that people can recall quite easily, or personal brand. They're not my favorite words, but they're words that work. And of course, the other part is about creating a feeling, the energy that comes along with it. So every time someone says to you, hello, who are you and what do you do? You know, that energy and power, that enthusiasm has to come from in here somewhere so that people go, oh yeah, I get that. You know, there's that sort of nice little exchange, a tiny bit of chemistry. And we have to create that in everybody that we actually meet. Would you agree? You sure? Okay, I'm going to put that to a test in a minute. All right then. So, just to finish off on me just giving the framework for this, so then you can start working on what does this mean to you. Brands have to be portable. I need to be able to take whatever you say and move it across to you easily. That's what I need to achieve. Okay, so I need people to give me the right stuff. So there's a few things here. It's what you say, therefore the language. The other part is how you behave, how you choose to express yourself, that energy and passion. Okay, and then of course it has to be based on what do you demonstrate, so it's not superficial. You have to be able to then sort of follow it through. So that's how this stuff works. Now, would you like to have a go at putting it into practice? And the answer is yes. Magic. Okay, all right then. So there was a tweet done, I think it was yesterday, by Rosanna Avento. Is she here by chance? Such a shame. I love this tweet. So she says, I'm an expert, you're an expert, 5,000 experts all here. And I loved it because she's hit the nail so on the head, because I want you to step into the real expertise that you want to be seen at. And I want that passion and energy that comes along with it. So when we network, that people really get that feeling from you. So right, let's do it. When I spoke to all these connectors, this is what I discovered. When they describe you, they will do under this format. So you've got the first part is that there's something about you as a character or as a value or as a personality that they will enjoy making the introduction about. That's one of them. However, whoever's asking, I need a, okay, the first thing they go to is they go to one of these two, either someone with the right experience or someone with the right skill sets. So I call it a yes framework. So you have to have these three components. So when you meet people, they have to feel you, experience you. The next bit, they need to hear something about your experience and or expertise that then in their minds, they go, oh, like that, get that. So this is what we're going to do. In order to help you to create your own yes framework today, is that I want you to take literally 2 minutes to write down, just for the moment, what is the direction that you personally are going in at the moment? Now, you can either use it as a career basis, or you can use it as what you want to achieve over the next 24 hours whilst you're here. But I'd like you to write down, because it's a lot more easier for me to show you how the yes framework works, by you sort of saying, okay, what's my direction? So you've literally got 2 minutes to write something down as specific as possible. Where do you want your career to go? What is it you're looking for? Or what do you want to achieve here? So you've got 2 minutes to write something down. Off you go. That's stage one. When you're looking at networking, stroke personal brand, and all of those lovely things, it is really important that you know the direction that you actually are going in, or the direction that you want to help coach somebody else. Now, that's sort of stuff that you probably already knew. The next part is actually also probably sort of common sense, which is actually looking at, based on the direction that you want to go, what's the impact that you are looking to create? What's the impact you're looking to create? Because in order for people to start seeing you in a certain light, you need to look at what's the impact that you are looking to create. So when we were in the employability sort of session earlier on, all the things that they talked about were all of these delicious soft skills stuff. And one of the things that came up was likability, which I thought was awesome, because that's one of the things that you have to be able to do when you're networking. You have to be likable, warm, approachable, because without that, why would I want to come and talk to you? You know when you come into a room and you get that scary person, have you ever seen that? You walk in, you're going, well, I'm not talking to you, poor blimey. And you sort of like, I'll go and talk to you because you look nice and friendly, and you'll go charging over and you sort of like get these little groups together. Okay, that's what it means when it comes to what's the impact that you're looking to create. How do you create something around you that is warm and approachable and inviting so that other people would want to come and say hello? My issue when I come into a room full of strangers is tall chaps, you know, in suits, you know, that bit of grey hair and everything, and you know they sort of stand there like this. It's all still. And then I walk up and I'm little. And they just go, yes. Terrifies me. Okay, so therefore, if you find yourself, you know, and I know that's something to do with your own shyness and your own introvertedness in some ways, but somehow or other, what we've got to do is create around us an energy, an environment around us that says, let's make this as warm and as useful as possible. So one of the things to think about, based on the direction you want to go, is what's the impact you're looking to create. Okay, now then. This is what I want you to do. I'm going to give you literally 4 minutes, which is really fast actually, because I'm running out of time already. So what I want you to do is I want you to concentrate on expertise and experience that is relevant to what you've just written down and where you want your careers to go or what you want to achieve over the next few days. So I want you to write down, if you had to introduce yourself now using just keywords or 6 words to introduce yourself, what would those words be? Now, I don't want any of the personality stuff because that's literally how you behave. What I want you to do is to write down, what is it about your expertise and experience that you want someone else to know about you? Because in a minute, you're going to be introducing yourselves. And you're going to be introducing yourselves based on the keywords. That's an awesome networking opportunity, and I want to make sure you take full advantage. So you've got literally 2-3 minutes to write down keywords about your experience and expertise that you would want someone else to know about you. Okay, so you literally got 2-3 minutes to write that down. Now keep those words, I don't want any generic type words, like professional. I just expect you to be professional. What I want is some nice, juicy stuff that is solid, that enables the other person to go, oh, I get you. So, this is the exercise I want you to do. I'm going to imagine that most of you have got some sort of keywords. What I'm going to ask you to do in a minute is cause some chaos. I'm going to ask you to stand up and either turn around and shake hands with somebody behind you that you don't know. And I want you to literally do this. You've got 30 seconds each to introduce yourselves. And you're going to go, hi, my name is Heather. I'm known as a networking and personal brand expert. I'm also a matchmaker at senior executive level. Actually, it doesn't take 30 seconds, but I'm really well practiced. So, what I want you to do is to meet somebody that you don't know. And I'm going to ask you each to do 30 seconds each, and I'm going to time it on here to go, right, okay, and I'm going to suddenly go, stop, I'll switch over, and then the other person goes. And if we get enough time, I get you to do it twice. What's really important here is that if you're trying to help others around you, coaching others around you to be articulate, then we've got to get you to that place where you're articulate. Okay, so are you ready? On your marks, get set, stand up, meet somebody you don't know, and you've got 30 seconds. Do it really, really quick. 30 seconds each. Don't forget, change over. You've got to change over now. If you haven't already done your 30 seconds, let the other person go. If you've both done your bit, then move on to the next person. Go say hello to somebody else. Now, for some of you, I know this is a little bit scary, but if this is scary for you, imagine what it's like for your university students. Yeah, I'm going to do a selfie with you guys. Where are you? Hang on. Hang on. Where are you? Smile. Hello. Oops. Hang on. Oh, there you go. You want to do any bombing? Come into the bombing. Where are we? There we go. Fantastic. So, put your hands up if you found that easy. Actually, it's not too bad. That's not too bad. Okay.
Contact.
You did. You made some contact. Yeah, she's got a card. Fantastic. Okay. So this is a very short session looking at networking and personal brand. The bit I really wanted to put across today was to make sure that you are articulating easily and simply who you are and what you're about. And when you then look at what does this actually mean, if you make it easy for someone to get you, it means it makes it easy for someone to remember you. If they can remember you, they can pass you forward. If you have a direction with the words that you want to use that takes the person in the way that you want to be heard, then you've got something that is really dynamic. So then every time you meet somebody, from here on in, it gets a lot easier. My biggest the bit I don't like when I turn around and say to somebody, so who are you, what do you do? And I'm all enthusiastic, and tell me. And then they go on and on and on. And you're sitting there going, I still don't know what you do. Now, I'm just a natural connector. I love making contacts with people. I really do. So one of my contacts the other day, she dropped me a note sort of saying, Heather, I'm desperate for a PA at the moment. And I said, right, fine, send that across to me. And then I sort of spent, I don't know, probably about half an hour yesterday actually going through all my emails going, right, who do I know? Who do I remember that's a really good PA? Okay, and then on that basis, I'm hoping somewhere in there, I've just given them a job. You know, it's a simple thing. It's a real simple thing. But to me, this is life-changing for the other person. But I can only do it if I get you. And that's what I need you to do, is become easy to get to. And that's without waffle. It's about giving those lasting words that people really get it. So just to summarize my part before we go into the Q&A part, is to make sure that when you're then asked, what do you do? You've got that energy and enthusiasm that comes along with it, as much as these lovely, good keywords that takes them in the direction that you want to go. And what I would suggest that you do is you practice and practice. So everyone you meet from here on today, just keep practicing it. So every time you go up to a random stranger, and they turn around and say, so okay, who are you? And you go, well, I've been to Heather's lesson, so I know exactly what I'm going to say. All right, next thing. What you should be doing is when you've got these lovely good words, is put them everywhere. So as you can sort of see, I've got mine on my logo, for example, but I also have them on my email address, and I put them across, you know, my LinkedIn profile and all that sort of stuff as well. Depending on the reasons, on the direction where you want to take your careers. This is the bit that's interesting, is that if you want to make sure, if you want to create a change in perception, if you want to move people's mindsets, then what you start doing is you put those words around on different places. So then it starts to sink into people's souls, you know, where they go, oh yeah, I remember you said that. Okay, and that's what you want to be doing, is actually sprinkling this bit of gold dust all over the place. And of course the last thing is that first impressions and that lasting impressions. And that's what makes networking happen. So this is baseline stuff, but it's the bit that makes it happen for you.